So I just wanted to bring that forward because the guardians are the gardeners.
They're the gates.
And they're the gatekeepers.
They're again, and we're going to get into that. We're just kind of stepping through, but yeah, we're going to see that and those are good things. Bring them forward, but they're already in here about who the gatekeepers are. Well, let's go to the Holy Grail file, and let's just, because we're in consecration, so let's just, and we can go through this really quick just for an overview of what we just did. And this is how I do things as my tornado. And so I see this as a Holy Grail. Now, in Viking times, the reason that they say the word skull as a chair is because in battle, they would actually behead, and they would actually drink out of the skull of who they conquered, in hopes that, or their thought process was, I'm now drinking the revelation of the wisdom of the king. That's why they say skull, and they toast and they drink out of the horn. Now they morphed into the horn, but the original intent was they drank out of the little skull of who they conquered. And then it got softened a little bit, and we can see it even in even movies that they have the horn, but that's the horn of authority.
Right, and that connects to Quran, which means to shoot forth rays of light.
That's why
through the wisdom.
That's why it's in here. Is that right? Because that's why it's the horns of authority that Moshe shone with.
Yeah.
It wasn't something to be. It's the revelation and the wisdom that we partake of, and so they
from the light.
And so they would call it, literally, it'd be like their Holy Grail. And so where do we get this? Because we are the Holy Grail.
Right.
Because the Grail works down to, and so we can just extrapolate out. So you can just read that first part, what the Holy Grail is.
The Holy Grail is a treasure that serves as an important motif in Arthurian literature. Different traditions describe it as a cup, dish, or stone with miraculous powers that provide happiness, eternal youth, or sustenance in infinite abundance, often in the custody of the Fisher King. The term Holy Grail is often used to denote an elusive object or goal that is sought after for its great significance. And I do have to say that I just spoke about this, about the bowl and the cup and the dish with Regina and Jesse.
Okay.
In what we were discussing in the Wise and Foolish Virgins.
And we're going to just quickly go through this file so we can get back to it. So from the revelation of Mother's Hill comes the standard of Father's Mountain.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, because that's what it's saying. You're chasing after something. Mother is a component, Father is a component, purposely separated, seamlessly separated for the purpose of putting them back together. The night and the day should be called one again, as we will be called one again. But we can only get to Father's Mountain through the gentle processes of Mother's Hill, right? It's a standard bearer that comprehends the journey and the purpose of the journey. And so we have the hill in here from the hills, and we can see there's a morph of another verse I took a note. So we see the morphology in this verse alone, because its root is just the gimel, the bet, the ayin, and the hey, right? So through the gentle walk of weaning and nurturing oneself, raising oneself as a mature one, you become built through the 222 of the bet tav, fulfilling the process of the ayin, the all-seeing eye, that would know the way of Father's revelation.
Exactly.
Okay, and so now there's a morphology that's added, because there's a vav tav added in this one I used in here, and we don't need to go into that, but
ma, what is it?
What is it?
Right? Memhe means what is it?
This is food that we're to partake in. It's been
and that's
hidden.
The root of manna.
Right, and this is what we were actually releasing is actually defined as manna.
Exactly.
And so now we can go down to where it's coming from. We can see, the city of Benjamin, which means the son of the right hand, and then that roots out at cup or bowl. A calyx of a flower, a goblet.
Exactly.
And now I saw this.
Well, and it's great because it has a yod right in the middle of it.
It has a yod. So now you have the power, means, and direction of the hand in the work that will produce the ability to see as the completed knowing of Father. And this is actually that ayin we're going to get into a little bit further, but that is actually the fountain. That is because it actually roots, and we're going to see it here in a little bit. The ayin actually means the eye and the fountain.
And you've actually released that in some of your other teachings as well.
And we're going to go.
So this is just inculcation.
Right, and we're going to go into depth into that. So anyway, so I just see it as the Holy Grail, right? The calyx of the flower, or a group of leaf-like or petal-like structures arranged at the base of the flower or the top of the stalk. Right?
So you can actually connect this to the scent of the rose.
Scent of the rose, or grand flower, the 1,000-petaled lotus.
Yep,
right?
Exactly.
It's the olefin.
Exactly.
Right? The calyx is often, but not always, green. In some plants, the calyx is the same color as the true petals.
Yeah.
Right? And to me, everything speaks spiritual. So the Calyx is made up of individual structures called sepals, right? So it's like the all, but we're all part of the fractaled all, and we are all petals on our journey seeking to be one with Father as Grand Flower once again.
Right. So if people haven't seen Scent of the Rose, it's highly recommended to watch that.
Right. So let's go down a little bit further. So now we have Gibber, so it's continuing down, and I just brought it down like, okay, so now we have this same language, Gimel Bet Ayin, but now we're going into the Gimel Bet Resh.
But before you do that, what you wrote is great. Drinking from the horn produces the authority, the Yod and the Vav, the pre-veil, the first fruits who will go before the veil and is fully revealed.
Right.
Like that, don't want to blow by that.
Yeah, I just put these, this is...
Your notes.
Yeah, these are my notes, and do with them what you will, but this is coded, that what the Spirit's showing me through the frequency of extrapolation, that this is really what's happening. These are all... But again, I couldn't bring it out fully because we would have 1,000 pages of extrapolation, and we need to keep it in the coded references.
But it is important to note that whenever a yod is placed in the center of a word or on the prefix in the suffix, the intention is that where that vision is placed, a vav would follow it when someone connects to the vision.
Right.
So that's important. That's just following by looking at the language for as long as we have to see that, and the power that comes from a vision that is presented.
Yeah.
So that you can connect to it becoming changed.
Right. So now let's go into this, because this would be a risen one now. That if you're prevailing, your head would be risen because you're humbly bowed to the Gimel.
Right.
To humility, meekness arises, and this would be the bent resh, the completed head of intention.
And then for bar, those that have been selected as pure and innocent.
Right, right. Completely pure, clean, rendered, right? This is the rendering process of distillation through drips and drops.
And this is part of bar.
This is bar.
Or
right?
Bereshit. Bereshit bara.
Absolutely.
So Genesis 1:1.
Absolutely.
Because they've gathered what they've needed to through the water.
So now we're talking about the strong man, because we're going into the strong man of what the light is and why they call him the strong man, because I'm showing you a mirror. Again, are you looking at it or are you looking as it, right?
Right, right.
And so my heart is that we all look as it. Mm-hmm. And so we see the Gibbarim, we see the Gabar, to be strong, to be mighty, still the same spelling, morphology, to be strong. Then we have prevail, which is really the root of Israel. Right, we're going to get into this, and now we have a Lord attached to this, a master.
Well, and let me just say that there's people out there that are talking about the Gibbarim as being negative, and what we are doing is we are not getting stuck in the past and the history. We're rewriting it for our now.
Right. Again.
So that because the Gibbarim would have had the Yod Mem on it, and has to do with Asherah.
Right. If everything's a frequency, then everything's a frequency. What I do with the frequency is directly related to the measure of what I have partnered with to produce clarity. Or a foggy vision. But if I'm able to see clearly, then everything is rendered clear for me to give me full potentiality of what I have deemed valuable to my level of potential.
So that you can rewrite.
So I can rewrite the narrative.
The narrative into a reality in which we want to be part of.
I choose to see in the innocence and purity a full potential of my father and my mother.
Exactly.
Why they created me and why I am here. Therefore, it sets me up to determine. I'm not asking anyone to see as I see. I am simply saying, and I'm not even telling, what do you see?
And what are you going to do with what you see?
And what are you going to do with what you see?
And if you see it, you can be it.
My heart is that everyone feel the frequency to know that I mean no harm, and I'm not trying to confuse. My heart is to shed light, but I also know by shedding light, sometimes confusion can come. But that is solely based on the reflection in your own mirror.
Exactly. And because we're going to have to wrestle the things that we've been indoctrinated with.
So let's just see what this frequency, because as this strong man is Lord and Master, he's become master over himself. He's become a man, a queen, and everything is frequency. We're just separated into the fragments of individuality as female and male, but we're still the same. And so now we have a lady, right, through the frequency of revelation there. Right, which is queen, which I am also categorized as a queen because it's all frequency.
Well, and with the hay, it's because it's those who have been revealed carrying the Father's revelation of his esoteric teaching.
And we've already preempted this with the concept of Esther and Hadassah, right? Because she is the queen that's getting ready, because as soon as she gets connected with the king, they are one, seeing with the revelation.
Which then connects back to the crown.
Which connects back to the crown. Absolutely. And so now we have man of Al, which is an archangel language, and this is where we get the word Gabriel, right? The
Exactly.
archangel. What it really means in the frequency of innocence, you have prevailed, you've wrestled well, you are now a strong man, a mighty man of Al. Well done for your vision, you've seen well. I now establish you through the hill, I establish you as the standard on the mountain, as one light bearer.
As a strong leader, teaching shepherd of light.
Right. And so we can see some verses there with Gabriel. We don't need to spend much time. But it simply is a valiant warrior. A strong, mighty one. There it is, prevail again.
And he has power of the right hand.
Right.
That's the yod. He carries the vision that he gives generously.
Okay, now we're going to, yes. And so now we're going to get down to drink from the fountain. And so now we're going to get back to the other verse again. But we're going to do this really quick. So let's go down to there. Let's talk about what this eye is. That the eye that they're drinking from of the Ayin, right? This is the all-seeing eye. And this is a lot of information. I apologize, but I don't. We need to get this stuff out. So this is now Ayin. It means the eye. Ayin, Yod, Nun, right?
Mm-hmm.
Literally and figuratively, a fountain, the eye of the landscape. There's another root of it, Ayin, okay? And it's from fountain again, a spring of water. We're talking about the cup of youth, okay? It's interesting that 369 and the knot of death. This is how we take the sting out of death, because the cup, the fountain, the Holy Grail is really perpetuity, which would be the noon, right? It's the new man of the noon, and now we're moving into really a higher perspective and reality. Enoch knew this, because in the verse of Enoch, it's 369, and it spells Ayin really through the phonics, but yet it's still coded as a 369. And this is what it was, and he was not.
Well, here's the deal. He had to be able to see the purpose in order to be given the power necessary to overcome the fallen flesh nature.
Right.
That's the whole purpose of the eye, is to see the purpose of what we need to lift ourselves from the lower flesh nature.
He drank from his own abilities, that he was the fountain within him, and out of his own well he drank plenty of water. And this is what we're
which is the revelation needed from within.
At one point, through not taking anything away from Yeshua, there's a well there for us to partake with until we have dug our own well, and now be a standard, and now allow other people to drink from your well. As he did, so do we.
So in other words, we become the door for people.
We become
so
the door
he
for
was
people.
the door of revelation as a gatekeeper, right?
Mm-hmm.
Standing at the door, knocking and saying, you need to open the door of your heart so that you can have this revelation found within you. And so then when we become it, we continue the work of Yeshua while we're here in the flesh, doing exactly what he did while he was here.
Right. So this word, wahanehu, I mean, I just love just the frequency.
Well, and a lot of we put this in the end of your videos.
Yep. It's in there. This is where it comes from. This is the power of 369.
Yeah.
And it's wa. So it's got the wa, that strong.
Wahenenu.
Waha'enu, right? And those double noons are double risen through mother and father, now sovereignly connected. And this is where Enoch was, and then he was not.
More.
He was
That's
no
right.
more.
He was no more.
So he didn't feel death. He was not. And so the fountain of youth, perpetuity, times 2, mother and father, produces the measure that connects you as above to below, from within, from without. You are now all encompassing as the night and the day, knowing what is and what is not, and now you stand as the measure of neutrality between, knowing exactly that. You are now light.
And I love that AI is in there, because that literally means an island.
Right, and it's actually down. You can actually see it's actually here. We can just go through that. And we're moving through this a little quickly, but a lot of information. But yeah, so this is the root of it, and we're going to get back. We're only giving a precursor to what's coming in a greater expression, and so we can see that there is.
I love it, to be nothing in the flesh.
Right.
Right. To be non-existent.
To be non-existent in the flesh.
Right.
You completed the spiritual revelation to become that for phosphorus, light.
Exactly.
And so this is what I'm trying to.
Hence why you're shedding your earth suit.
Right.
And that's why you are not any longer, because you have sped up the light within you, which means you've literally transcended out of the lower vibrational frequencies to a place where those in the lesser frequencies can no longer see you.
And this is.
It doesn't mean that you're not there. They just can't see you.
Yeah, right.
Because you become in a spectrum that they can't see.
Yeah, and this word right here, this whence, where have you been?
Right.
And this is talking about
the questions.
This is the questions.
Yeah.
Where have you been? And
Right.
this was the question asked to who? Hasatan. Where have you been, Hasatan?
Right.
As an adversary,
Where
I
have
have
you
been
gone?
walking up and down the fiery stones.
Right.
You are going up and down the spiral staircase of your DNA through your light code, through the essence of your being, of maturity in your estate of mother and father. He has been journeying up and down it.
Right. As the adversary to the lower narrative.
Right.
Not the way they've presented
No.
it, or not what they have created an entity to be that may have manifested in the flesh, but literally the true purpose
Right.
of being the adversary to the lower realm, because it is so perverted.
Right. And so now we can roll this down a little bit further. But that's a lot right there. There's a lot in there.
Yeah, well,
so,
if you connect it, as we are, the dot connecting of
right.
the one entity with the dual natures, it's
Right.
a big deal.
So now that we're talking about this. Now this is just running through its own definition. Now you're into I, not the Aleph Yod, which is actually ties to the howl that we're going to get to here pretty shortly. Where are you? And it's interesting. Now we go into the jackal, Anubis.
How interesting. He shall deliver the island of the innocent.
Yep. And we're going to break those down another time. But so now we're just talking about. Now we're into this, and this ties in.
Wow, this is going to connect us back to the jackal as well as the dragon.
Yes.
Oh my
So
gosh.
that's why it's so painstaking to make it flow for people. And so now we're starting over again, because who is this jackal? Go down a little further. Now we can go back, because these are the anointed. Right? Because who are these ones that have connected, that have found the anointing? And so now we can get out of this file, because we've already
gone
I just
through
wanted
that.
to say, because that connects to the consecrated ones. This is all about the consecrated ones
Exactly.
we just came from.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, so we can get out of that file. And let's go back to the file where we're talking about consecration. That was there's too much information. So now we're finishing with the Kodesh Kodeshim, the set apart ones, right? That have compressed through the kuf to enter the door, right? And then they've consumed themselves through the fire of Father. This is the full consecration. And now they're sacred and holy. And this is what it is. That's why it's the Holy Grail. You are the Holy Grail. You are the set apart Holy Grail.
Right.
You are the fountain. That's why I wanted to show that. The Ayin of completion, the all-knowing Holy One, because you've sanctified, you've compressed what is necessary, and now you've set yourself apart as I set you apart.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Be holy as I am holy.
Be holy as I am holy.